"There's a mean lady here named Helen," was all I wrote to Ella. "But I like her, and I think you two would get along." I wrote that I had a trial subscription to Hulu and had already watched several seasons of Grey's Anatomy, several seasons of Elementary, and now I was starting in on The Good Wife. Already I was daydreaming about dropping out of my program before it even began and trying instead to become something useful like a doctor or lawyer or a private eye. I wrote, and this was true, that without her smile and the sound of her laughter my existence was joyless, that more and more I was letting hygienic lapses go unaddressed, and that in our apartment, if she chose to join me there, she could have the office upstairs all to herself. "You stupid," Ella addressed her reply, though it was hard to detect the affection this phrase typically implied. This was after another silence of about a week. She was still waiting, she wrote, in English now, for me to say something about her no longer wanting to start a family, and to try to persuade her to change her mind. If I'd spent so much time reading and rereading and translating her emails, how had it escaped me that this was the invisible current that ran through them all? Her work, she said, was exhausting. Her days were full of the minutest anxieties one could imagine, on which the fate of the entire production nonetheless relied. Fatima's perfume made her eyes water, but her relationships with the children were satisfying in ways she hadn't anticipated. That day, on the way to set, the massive convoy of trailers, set cars, camera cars, and tech vans had found its way blocked by a clot of news vans parked on a single-lane overpass, beneath which a long line of migrants was passing on their way north and west. With Stéphane and Capucine following her, she'd gotten out of the car, and while the three of them stood for a long time among the cameras, looking out over the procession below, her thoughts, of course, turned to Emina, who carried within her the same horrors that were written on these hundreds of faces, coded into her DNA. All afternoon, the idea had made her feel utterly hopeless and very small, and now she'd been thinking, she said, about the tendency, when people are talking about interconnectivity in high-flown terms, to emphasize that our existence is based on carbon that originates in the cosmos, the stardust from whence we came and to which we shall return. "Because tonight by the pool," she wrote, "Stéphane, who despite everything about his mother is charming, said something that resonated with me, relative to what, I'm not sure, in the offhanded way of children. That if it's true that 60% or more of our bodies is composed of water, it must also be true that they're not always composed of the same water, that the water inside our own bodies must at one time have been inside other bodies, plants and animals, other living and non-living things, and in the ocean and in the very air around us, in various places around the planet at various moments since the beginning of time." "Et alors," his mother said, flicking the pages of a magazine. "Et alors, ma vie, so what?